Hello, my name is Justin Koziol, and for my urban design project, number 1, I will be doing a square in Taastrup. First, I will show you two photos, one on the left side and one on the right side of the square, to give you kind of a general layout of the square and how it is oriented within the city. Next, I will be showing you a little walkthrough of the square to give you a view as if you were actually walking through the square. Here I begin by showing you the street right next to the square. This is kind of the main central street that goes through downtown Taastrup. And here is the entrance to the square. On the left we have a bar that's frequented by many people within the town, the Fin Inn. Usually there's some chairs sitting out front, but today they're inside. And on the right side here we have some trees that provide a little bit of shade in the entrance. Unfortunately, there's no such shade in the square itself. Now we are entering into the square, and as you can see there's some low-lying buildings on the left and the right side. And we are approaching kind of the sitting implements that are scattered throughout the square, these little blocks that are placed in several spaces throughout the square. Also, there are these benches over here that some people use for sitting down on. Here's the tallest building in the square. It's about 3 stories tall. It's an apartment complex with some commercial residences below. Now we're kind of walking to the other side of the square. There's a kebab place here, which also usually has some tables and chairs sitting out front, but for some reason today they are inside. In the back here there's kind of a parking lot with another road in the back. Again, some trees for a little bit of shade on the exit of the square. And now going back into the square itself, we can have another overview with the tall building on the left and the low buildings on the right. As you can see, the square kind of dwarfs the buildings that are surrounded by it. On the right side here, there's some more benches that people usually sit down on, but they are unoccupied right now. And then we have this big kind of circular wooden object that is used for sitting. There's a good shot of the grocery store. That's probably the most frequented building in the square. Now we're moving on to the kind of back of the square where we have a public bathroom and a little area for kids to play in. A little jungle gym kind of complex. Not too sure how it works, but this thing right here is pretty popular with the kids. It's a little bouncy thing. And then we have this circle donut shaped play thing, which I'm not sure how that works either. But finally we have just another overview of the square itself. Followed up by a final shot of the grocery store, which again is the most popular place for people to go in the square, where you'll usually find most of the people kind of standing around in and going in and out of. Behind the grocery store we have another parking lot for the grocery store. Now we have a kind of overhead view here, and I fast forward the video a little bit so we can see more people moving around. Here we see a lady in the middle sitting on one of those granite blocks, which is kind of unusual because those blocks are pretty uncomfortable and don't really allow for easy access to talking to other people without knocking into them or anything like that. We can also begin to see the walking patterns of people here. On the top left you see people coming to and from the grocery store in the parking lot, which is probably the most heavily trafficked area. In the middle, kind of along that gray stripe, you see people walking from the grocery store to the street, and on the right hand side you see people going from the park down to the kebab place or to the building I'm in. Also on the right side, I don't know if you can see, but there's people sitting on the benches, which is actually pretty common. A lot of people sit on those benches. They just got up and left. But those benches are pretty popular because they're in the shade, and I think they're a little more comfortable to sit on than the blocks or that big round thing. Also, they're pretty close to the walking path on the right side, so it's good for people watching as well. Okay, in this clip we're going to see this guy come over with a bicycle and sit down on the big wooden thing and do what a lot of people do, which is skip the blocks entirely and go right over to the wooden thing. Now what's interesting about this is most people sit on the left side of the wooden thing instead of the right side because the left side affords a better view of people, a better people watching spot, and it also is closer to the main area where people go, which is kind of that middle path right there. And you'll see most people come here by themselves, but occasionally you will see a couple or two coming into the space, which kind of tells you that, again, the space is not a place where people come to hang out. Now you see this guy's girlfriend coming here and kind of giving him a hug and showing some public affection, which is kind of goes in line with the social life in small urban spaces, which says that lovers tend to be kind of out in the open in these public squares. And now you'll see they'll kind of hang out in the shade while there's not too much sunlight going on in the square itself, and when it comes back they decide to leave. Okay, this clip's kind of just to show in the top right, you'll see people using the donut thing, and that park actually does get used, even though it's not very, doesn't have very many things on it. You'll see people going there and sitting there, and that donut thing is actually pretty popular for people to sit in. I think it's just because it looks kind of cool. This clip is just showing another person using the wooden thing, and again, bypassing the blocks. And what I find interesting about this whole square is there's not that many places to kind of lean against or stand on. It's mostly just wide open walking space and sitting spaces, so you don't see too many people stopping and talking, but you see some people using some of the sitting space. This clip is just to showcase more of that wooden thing and how it's pretty much the only thing that's used in this space at all. Kind of highlights the failure of this entire space to really provide a comfortable, comfortable places for people to stay. While there is a lot of sitting space on that wooden thing, not much of it is comfortable, and not much of it is a place where people want to hang out and talk to each other. You see again, these couple over here is close to the main walking path, which seems to fit with the theory about lovers being near the main area yet again. This final clip is just to point out these people in the left hand side up here. You'll see that they're stopping and talking in the main flow of where people are going, and this again fits with the social life in small urban spaces theory that people like to stand and talk right in the middle of the flow. And I think it would be a good thing for this space if someone put a place to lean on or somewhere to sit and conversate kind of closer to this main flow that isn't those kind of ugly, uncomfortable blocks, but something a little better, maybe some benches or tables or something like that. Now, during this last bit, I'm just give you my recommendations on what I think should be done to improve this space. Overall, there's a lot wrong with this space. It's pretty gray and drab, and most of the materials used are kind of hard and not very welcoming to people. You'll see in the top right corner there's actually some people hanging out in that park area, which is actually more popular for people sitting down in this huge space over here. And I think the space could benefit a lot from incorporating some more greenery and some more trees and maybe some circular benches and places for people to sit and have some shade from the sunlight that's usually out here, at least during this time of the year. On the left-hand side, there's a bar, which I think could greatly benefit from having a large seating area with a bunch of tables and maybe an awning to cover it up, and would attract a lot of people to just go kind of sit on that left-hand side over there. Also, at nighttime, this place has absolutely no lighting whatsoever, so anytime after around 6 or 7, the square is pretty much dead. Once the grocery store closes, there's absolutely no people in the square for any reason. What the square does do well, kind of, is it protects people from the street and the road noise. There's not very much noise that comes over from the left-hand side, the main street over there, or from the right-hand side of the street over that way either. You can't really hear any road noises or people being loud or anything like that. So the area does do that well, but that's pretty much the only thing that it does that well. I mean, this place is in a pretty prime location in the city. There's a lot of stores, and there's actually the main train station is right across the street from this park or square area, and I think it could possibly be a place where a lot of people come and sit and hang out and enjoy themselves if only there was some more softer kind of spaces and more well thought out design.